Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right, we are on. I am the MoJoKing. He is the great Mike Steph, and we are Hidden Gems Football, brought to you by the Mighty 19 Media Group. Before we start, I'd like to thank you, whether you are watching us on YouTube or listening on your favorite streaming platform. Thank you for being here with us. We strive, we thrive because of you. Please like, subscribe, comment, and most definitely tell a friend. Just don't tell a friend about last week. Anyway, Mike Steph, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. My Jets shocked the world, shocked the nation this past week. And I refer you to last week's episode of Hidden Gems Football to find exactly. I know you just said ignore last week. And here I am. No, refer to last week. No, but all seriousness, I'm doing great. And as Mo said, we really appreciate y'all patronage, even though this is free. So we strive, we thrive, we care because of you. Yeah. Back to you, Mo.
All right. As we leave last week in the past, let's go on to talk about the future of. No, let's talk about the present. Mike Steph, you have one big thing for us.
Yes, I do. I'm going to give you my top five. That's 5 times. My top 5 teams in the league so far this season. This past weekend, we lost our last 2 unbeaten teams, which were the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. So some would think, so how are you going to choose who's going to be the top, the top dog, if you will? Well, I'll go by the way they lost. So my number 1 team will be the San Francisco 49ers. They only lost because of a missed field goal. Think about it. People would think it shouldn't have been that close. They were going against a 3rd-string quarterback, but Cleveland does have the number 1 defense in the league, and they were going back and forth. But they drove down the field, and due to 2 questionable officiating calls, they probably shouldn't have lost that game. So San Francisco will be my number 1 team in the league so far. Number 2 will surprise you because you would think, well, Philly lost in the same fashion. No, they didn't. Philly got dominated on their offensive line, but we'll talk about them later. My number 2 team is Kansas City. Kansas City is riding a 5-game winning streak. Kansas City is being led not by their offense, but by their defense. Their defense is holding teams for the year under 15 points a game, and their defense has been dominating. Patrick Mahomes isn't lighting the league up through the air, but they have really, really ground and pound their way to a certain degree, even though the numbers might not support that. But Kansas City will be my number 2 team. Number 3 will also surprise you. And I never thought I would say this. The number 3 team on my list is the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are 5-1. They have wins. Well, their major win was the beginning of the season that kind of set the tone for this 5-1 record, which was against the number 2 team, Kansas City. You're probably like, hey, Mike, aren't you contradicting yourself? How are you going to have Kansas City number 2 and Detroit number 3 if Detroit beat Kansas City? Well, because I choose to put them that way. It's up to my discretion. But yeah, Detroit is being competent enough on defense and explosive on offense that some would say still weakened NFC. I think they're the 2nd team right now in the NFC. Therefore, they would be number 3 on my list. Besides, Jared Goff is having an MVP caliber season, which we'll talk about later. My number 4 and my number 5 teams are 2 teams that I despise for different reasons. So my number 4 team will be the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending NFC champions. They are licking their wounds off a loss. They're licking their wounds because of numerous injuries on the defensive side and the offensive side. But I really think they're licking their wounds due to a lack of coaching personnel that is being very glaring so far this season. And tell you the truth, that 5-1 start could be a mirage because you can look at various points throughout the season that they should have lost and they came out with the victory. But the record says who you are, and they are a 5-1 team, so they would be number 4 on my list. And number 5, begrudgingly, but once again, would be the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are 5-1 with the most explosive offense that we've seen this side of the greatest show on turf so far. They're clearly the fastest team in the NFL, at least, especially on the offensive side. You got Tyreek Hill going for numerous records in the receiving ranks. We have Tua Tagovailoa, who is managing, or should I say, matter of fact, he's managing how to utilize all the weapons at his disposal in a good fashion. And you got boy wonder Mike McDonald handling his business accordingly. So, yeah, that's my top 5 teams. So to repeat, San Francisco, Kansas City, Detroit, Philadelphia, Miami. I almost forgot my damn self. And that is my top 5. And that's Mike Steph. One big thing. Yeah!
All right. I think you would rightfully say that the Jets defense is a superior defense, is a top tier defense. Why would Philadelphia not still be ranked higher just because they got dominated by a superior defense?
Because the teams in front of them have played better overall throughout the season. Kansas City, their only hiccup was opening night. San Francisco, like I said, they lost by a field goal, and they lost by a missed field goal. They did their job. Their offense did their job, got them in position, and the field goal kicker didn't do his job. And Detroit has been solid on both sides of the ball. And if you really think about it, they're on a 4-game winning streak. Their only loss came to Seattle in week 2, and that was in overtime. So yeah, so Philly's where they at. Shoot, let me find out. You one of those whining Philadelphia fans. You're a Philly apologist. The Eagles. Oh, I'm so glad you know what? I'm gonna withhold my Eagles slander until we get later on in the show. But yeah, that's my explanation of why Philly's number 4, or as in Sister U would say, cuatro.
Let's move on to Thursday night. We have the 4-2 Jacksonville Jaguars heading to New Orleans to play the 3-3 Saints. The total here is 39.5 points, and the Saints are 1.5 point favorites. That means Vegas is saying that the Jaguars will score 19 and the Saints will score 20.5. As far as injuries, Trevor Lawrence hurt his knee late in the game last week. He's been limited in practice. I think he seems optimistic that he will play. Meanwhile, wide receiver Zay Jones also has a knee issue. He did not practice Tuesday. He did not play last week. And both offensive guards are questionable. On the defensive end, starting corner Tyson Campbell is also questionable. As for New Orleans, they have big injury as well. Chris Olave has a toe injury and was limited in practice. Tight end Juwan Johnson has a calf injury and did not practice at all. On the plus side, they might be getting back Jamal Williams. He's been designated to return from the IR. Will he play this week or next week? Can't really say for sure. And then on the defensive side, linebacker Demario Davis was limited in practice. He is questionable as well. All right, Mike Steph, what do you think? By the way, did you know last week I slipped in a Donnie U?
Yeah, upon rewatching, I was like, in that where it's totally over my head. Because you like, hey, up there as a reminder, at Mike Steffens. This Donnie U dude, I have no idea who you speak of.
I think that was the beginning of my downward crash last week that we're not discussing anymore. All right, what do you think about this Jacksonville-New Orleans game? Who you got?
I don't think much. I really don't. I swear, these are one of these dogs that they be having on this Thursday night, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Hey, babe, how you doing? So the Jags are riding a 3-game winning streak, the latest one being a 37-20 triumph over the Colts, and they returned to the country, and they returned to the mainland after spending 2 weeks abroad, having the unmitigated gall to be favored by Roger Goodell's experimental tech practices, but I digress. That game last week was never in doubt. For some reason, they have Indianapolis number over the last couple of years, especially even when they're not, particularly good. And tell you the truth, despite their 4-2 record, I don't particularly think they're good. They have also covered the last two spreads as a favorite against the Falcons and the Colts. They've gone under. They've done the under or the over-under spiel. They've gone under 2 of the last 3 as well. Like you said, Trevor Lawrence is dealing with an injury, and you would think even if he does play, that should cause them to lean on the running game led by Travis Etienne, who has 5 TDs under here, and he's averaging a paltry 4 yards a carry. Now, as for the Saints, the offense of the Saints have been anemic, only averaging 18 points a game. I'm quite sure they thought that they were going to get more out of the investment of Derek Carr. Yeah, I know he's dealing with dealing with a sprained AC joint injury or something like that, but he played. If you're on the field, that means you could play. And if you're on the field, that means you're supposed to produce. So I always thought Derek Carr was overrated anyway. And yeah, he has a new team, new environment, same old Derek Carr, underachieving as usual. Interestingly enough, 2 of their wins are against the Panthers and the Pats, who have a combined 1 win this season. The only reason they're favored by Vegas to me is the fact that they're home, and it's a short week against a hobbled opponent. So with my pick, I don't like neither one of these teams because they're just so boring. Jacksonville, yeah, matter of fact, I'll say Jacksonville for the money line. Jacksonville to cover the spread. And the over-under, I don't have no faith in Derek Carr or their anemic offense, especially being the fact you said Chris Olave is either out. He's out.
No, he's questionable.
Questionable. Yeah, so pretty much he's going to be hobbled. So even if he is in the lineup, you think they get more than 18 points? I don't think so. So, like I said, Jacksonville money line, Jacksonville cover the spread, and the over-under 39.5. Being the fact it's Thursday, under.
Yeah, all this makes a lot of sense. Everything you said. Jacksonville's on a little bit of a streak, but you can't really be sure about them. Their wins have been interesting as of late, as you pointed out, with the being in London for the extra week to face the Bills. And then last week they beat the Colts, but remember it was Gardner Minshew's first game starting, and he's hit or miss. And last week he was a miss. What also is interesting about Jacksonville is that their defense is ranked 31st versus the pass. Conversely, New Orleans is ranked 24th in scoring. So something has to change, I guess. Both of these teams have not been impressive. I'm a little bit surprised that the Saints are the favorites here, because at least Jacksonville has been winning. So I like the Jaguars, so obviously I take them with the points. I take them that outright win. That 39.5, I have no idea. I lean over, but I don't really, I'm not going to bet that at all. I'll tell you that right now.
Normally for years, going to the spread, the home team would get 3 points just for the fact that they were home. And they've kind of adjusted that this year to a half a point, 2.5. So I guess in reality, Vegas is saying that Jacksonville, they really favor Jacksonville by 1 point. But even that, I'm like, Jacksonville, even though I don't think these teams are that evenly matched, even though they're both very dry and very bland teams, I do believe Jacksonville is a better team just for the fact they have a better quarterback and a better coach. So that should account for more than at least 1 point. So that was kind of my thinking in, Jacksonville covering the spread.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Are you ready to step up your style without compromising the planet? Introducing the exciting partnership between Blueview Footwear and the 19 Media Group Network. Just visit bit.ly/Blueview19 to start your sustainable style journey. Our friends over at Blueview Footwear are renowned for introducing the world's first fully biodegradable sneaker. By using plant-based plastics, they are leading a revolution in cleaner materials and manufacturing. They have sleek and contemporary styles that cater to a wide range of tastes. Blueview Footwear believes that fashion and sustainability can coexist harmoniously. Explore their incredible collection of eco-friendly footwear by visiting bit.ly/Blueview19. If you let us know you made a purchase, we'll shout you out on our next show. Again, just visit bit.ly/Blueview19 today, and you'll see the ultimate collaboration of fashion, sustainability, and media excellence.
All right, we're going to roll into Sunday. We're going to actually roll into some tight games. But because we are Survivor is our feature, I quickly want to go over the two kind of obvious picks, maybe. All right, the 4-2 Buffalo Bills are going to New England to face the 1-5 Patriots. Buffalo is 8.5-point favorites. The total right now is at 41.5 points. There is an injury question as far as Josh Allen. He's having shoulder issues, so that makes that a little bit questionable. And on the other side, the other game is the 1-5 Arizona Cardinals. They are going to Seattle to face 3-2 Seattle Seahawks, who are 8-point favorites. The total there is expected to be 44.5. Seattle hasn't really shown much defense, but they do score. I think that is going to be the primary pick that you're going to see everybody go to, and probably me too. But Mike, Steph, do you have any opinion on these two games?
Well, the Seattle Arizona game, survival wise, you would be correct with the just picking Seattle, because Arizona, Dobbs is Cinderella ride is starting to kind of diminish. But yeah, so Seattle would be definitely the pick. What's the spread again? You said 8?
8, yeah.
I don't trust Seattle to cover, but at the same time, Arizona was covering early in the season, and like you said, the wheels are falling off. It's like they'll hold it close in the first half, and in the second half, the better team pulls away, and they end up not covering. Plus, the injury to John Connor, has hindered their ability to keep things close. So yeah, so I would agree with you with Seattle, and I wouldn't really touch the spread because, that's kind of shaky. The other one, Buffalo and New England, I think Buffalo is the obvious choice, but you would think that if Josh Allen is not 100%, or by chance, might be a game time decision not playing, and it's at New England, maybe Belichick can pull a rabbit out his hat. I don't believe so, but you can't possibly believe that he's going to be 1-6. And Buffalo hasn't looked great the last 2 weeks. They got a built-in excuse with going to London and then coming back from London doing a Sunday night. They didn't look great against the Giants. So I would be tempted, if I had some money to burn, I would be tempted to put some money on New England, at least to cover. But as for survival wise, I think the safe bet out of these two games would probably be Seattle and not Buffalo. I know you're probably like, why would you do Buffalo? Something about Buffalo, they don't look right, and plus they're ravaged on the defensive side.
I agree completely. Seattle seems like the safest play, but it's kind of weird because they don't really play good defense. And then Buffalo, I worry when Josh Allen is not healthy, his arm is not healthy. We saw what happened last year when the offense kind of just struggled. Obviously, that was an elbow. This is a shoulder. I don't think a shoulder injury is better. So, it could be a problem. They should be able to beat how New England has played. They should be able to beat them regardless. Just Josh Allen just playing it safe. But Josh Allen doesn't always play it safe. So, but I will say it's kind of an interesting week in that there are only 2 games that have really big spreads, which means that most Survivor players will be focused on those games. If by the chance Buffalo gets upset and Seattle gets upset, it will eliminate a huge portion of the pool. So if you happen to have a team that you really, really, really believe will win this week, maybe this is the week to go a slightly different way. I mean, I'm saying Seattle, but I don't really trust Seattle. So something to think about. All right, let's move over to the Sunday games. First up, we have the 5-1 Detroit Lions going to Baltimore to face the 4-2 Ravens. The Ravens are 3-point favorites, and the total is expected to be 41.5 points. That means the Detroit Lions will score 19.25, and the Ravens will score 22.25. As far as injuries, they're piling up in the backfield for Detroit. David Montgomery has a rib issue and is unlikely to play this week. The coach said that he will miss some time, so we're looking at possibly weeks. Meanwhile, Jahmyr Gibbs did not play last week or the week before because of a hamstring injury. He is looking like he may play. But if he doesn't, that means that the featured running back for the week will be Craig Reynolds. Also, safety CJ Gardner-Johnson needs surgery for a torn pec, and he is going on the IR. He may be able to return later this season, but he definitely won't be there for this game. Meanwhile, Baltimore comes in pretty healthy off of last week. All right, Mike Steph, what do you think of this game?
I actually believe that the problems in their backfield, and I'm speaking about Detroit, might actually lend them to air it out more, which to me would be their advantage. It's a new week, another week of me being shocked and amazed by the Lions being one of the top teams, not only the division, but not only the conference, but the entire league. Their 5-1 record is only blemished by an inexplicable loss in overtime at home against the Seattle Seahawks in week 2. That could be explained by having a natural letdown after having an opening week victory against the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. That's how I'm going to chalk it up. To me, Jared Goff is having an MVP caliber year with 11 touchdowns so far. This offense is explosive. They're averaging 28 points a game. And the defense has been more than adequate, giving up over 19 points a game. The average margin of victory in this 4-game winning streak since that Seattle loss has been 15 points a game. Now, on the other side, the Ravens, they're coming off a 24-16 victory over the Titans in Europe last Sunday. To me, they've had this bad pattern of inconsistency, alternating puzzling losses after a win. They split their last 4 games, but the losses have only been by 1 score. One thing, though, where is the explosiveness? For all the talk in the offseason about how Todd Monken was going to add a new dimension to the offense and how they were going to be less dependent on the run game, or let's say they would be more dynamic and less dependent on Lamar Jackson using his legs. Do you know Lamar Jackson is the leading rusher on the team with over 300 yards, 55 yards per game to be exact? OBJ, their marquee acquisition over the offseason. Yeah, I know, albeit mostly due to injury, but the time he hasn't been injured, he's been a non-factor. So is OBJ washed? I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows? But right now, when it comes to the offense for the Ravens, it's Lamar right, Lamar left, Lamar to the center, and when he decides to throw it up, he got 2 options. 2 options that he's comfortable with, and that's Zay Flowers and that's Mark Andrews. Besides that, if you take one of them out, take 2 of them out, Lamar is running for his life. And right now, Detroit has way more options, even though they're down to their 3rd-string running back. They have way more options to score than Baltimore. Baltimore's defense is not the vaunted defense of the past. You know, they have stout linebackers, but their linebackers can be exploited. And it's going to really come down to the explosiveness of Detroit and the lack of the explosiveness of Baltimore. Detroit just have more options to score. So Detroit for the money line, Detroit for the over. Detroit for the money line. I'm going over, and Detroit's going to cover the spread just for the fact Detroit's going to be able to score more. Being the fact they're down to their 3rd-string running back, I think it's going to lead them to put it in the air and I don't have that much trust in the Baltimore secondary to hold up.
It's interesting because I think I agree with you, but I also want to counter some of your points. So, first, as far as Lamar leading in rushing, well, that's kind of a tricky situation because Dobbins would be leading them in rushing, but he is out for the season. And since then, they've been using Edwards and Hill kind of splitting time. So Lamar's been the only one that's been healthy and on the field the whole season. And then on interesting to me on the other side of the ball is that the Lions have the first ranked run defense so far this season. Meanwhile, as you pointed out, Baltimore, who was supposed to be this pass heavy offense all of a sudden, is fifth in rushing as far as yardage. So that's strength going up against strength. I think Baltimore is going to have to, on both sides, I think Baltimore is going to have to try to pass more if they hope to win. And as you pointed out, his two receivers, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, neither one of them are really deep threats. That's what you would hope Odell would do, but hope Odell hasn't done so far. I just need a reason to pick against the Lions, and I don't see a reason here. So I'm definitely going with the Lions to outright win. So definitely with them on the point spread. Because Baltimore, I think, will have to pass more to get in to keep this game close, I am also going over. So even though I'm picking at you a little bit, I agree with everything you just said as far as the bet size.
Listen, I understand. You know, especially of last week. Oh yeah, that's right. We're not supposed to mention last
week. Moving along.
Yo, what's up? I'm Desmond, and I'm the host of Hip to the Games, a podcast from 19 Media Group, where the brilliance of basketball and hip-hop's past and present is genuinely appreciated. Join me every other Friday as we celebrate some of the greatest artists, albums, moments, songs, bars, punchlines, NBA teams, players, just anything and everything to do with the game of rap and the game of basketball. See, if you like basketball and hip-hop, that means you're hip to the games. But no matter where you fall on that spectrum, I encourage you to join the fun every other Friday on your favorite podcast platform, courtesy of the great 19 Media Group.
All right. The later afternoon games, we're moving on to those. First up, the 2-3 Los Angeles Chargers are going to Kansas City to face the 5-1 Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City is a 5.5-point favorite, and the total is projected to be 48.5 points. That means that Vegas is saying they expect the Chargers to score 21.5, while the Chiefs score 27. As far as injuries, free safety for the Chargers, Gilman was out last week because of a heel injury. He is questionable for this week, but they did get Eckler back. Running back is Chardonnay, came back last week. You figure he will get a heavier load this week. As for Kansas City, they had no new injuries last week. Mike Steph, what do you think about this game? Kansas City, 5.5-point favorite.
Well, let's start with the Chargers. The Chargers were on the losing end of the Underachiever Bowl against the Cowboys this past Monday night, coming up short 20-17. Justin Herbert had a down game for his standards, throwing for only 227 yards with 2 touchdowns plus 1 costly interception. They're currently 2-3, and their wins have been over the Raiders and the Vikings. Austin Eckler, as you mentioned, did return, but he did struggle on the ground, gaining only 27 yards and 14 carries. That was like 1.9 a carry. What I've been saying for 2 years is starting to bear fruit. Justin Herbert is being wasted by this inept head coach, by this inept organization. And I believe, to me, it's starting to affect his performance because he's feeling the need to be perfect. That can weigh on you, especially with the expectations that he himself carried for himself and the football world as a whole put on Justin Herbert to be this top 5, top 10 quarterback, which fantasy-wise it is, but right now some warts are starting to show, and I don't believe it's totally his fault, but on some respects he has to be accountable for. To have a defensive head coach with all this talent at their disposal, this team is surrendering 25 points a game, and this defense is getting Swiss cheesed up every damn week. Like, what's going on? Now, as for the Chiefs are kind of boring because all they do is win, 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 win. They've run off 5 straight after the loss to Detroit in the season opener. And that's not really that surprising. The surprising part is led by their defense, allowing under 15 points per game. And also, surprisingly, they're leaning on their running game, which might have something to do with the lack of trust that Mahomes has in his receiving corps outside of Kelsey. But Kansas City defense is not like the defense of old, where you could just know, all right, all we got to do is run the ball down the throat, or we're going to, they're going to give it up. They're going to give up points. This is a different defense. And I believe their defensive strength plays into the weaknesses of the Chargers. Trying to be over aggressive. Their secondary is much improved. And the Chargers, to me, until proven otherwise, they can't consistently run the ball. And all they're going to do is try to force feed Keenan Allen. And I could easily see Keenan Allen being taken away. So, all that being said, Kansas City, money line. That over-under, surprisingly, I'm going to go under. As dynamic as the Chargers can be, they haven't been dynamic against good teams. And that 5.5 spread, I'm going to throw a bone. Chargers are going to cover because they always play Kansas City close, but they're not going to win. So Chargers against the spread, Chiefs money line, over, under.
Just one asterisk before I said everybody's healthy. All the starters were healthy for Kansas City. Justin Watson is questionable. He is their 3rd, 4th receiver. For fantasy, you may think about Rashee Rice, the rookie wide receiver. He's getting a little bit more action because they have nobody else to throw to. Mahomes has nobody else to throw to but Kelsey. So look at the rookie possibly. All right. I hate predicting both of these teams because the Chargers always do worse than they should, and Kansas City somehow always wins when they shouldn't. That, by default, should make Kansas City a 10-point favorite in my head. But here's the thing. The Chargers, 4 of their 5 games have been decided by 1 score or less. Meanwhile, 4 of 5 of Kansas City's last games have been decided by 1 score or less, with the exception of the blowout against the Bears. I guess it has to be a close game. It looks like the Chargers will make a mistake late and Kansas City will win. That is how the script is supposed to go if the NFL has written a script. The Chargers need to fire their coach. And until they do, I'm always going against them. So Kansas City to win. I'm with you. I think the under, just because I think one of these teams will not do the right thing. The only thing I'm worried about is that the Chargers repeatedly go for 4th down at their own 30-yard line, and then it's set up for Mahomes to drive 30 yards for a touchdown, and they end up scoring a lot more than they should because of that. I don't like these teams as far as betting. I'm going to take Kansas City as 5.5 because we have to make a pick here, but honestly, I will not come close to betting this game, except for maybe the under. But I'm not betting this spread, or I'm not even betting the winner. I don't like it. Let's hit the last game, and it is a doozy. The Miami Dolphins heading to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. The Eagles are 2-point favorites here, and the total is 52 points. That means that Vegas is saying that the Dolphins will score 25 points and lose to the Eagles, who will score 27. As far as injuries, for Miami, there's only 2 starters that are questionable at the moment. Center Connor Williams is questionable, and cornerback Xavier Howard is also questionable. Coach McDaniel said that he's day-to-day with his groin injury. Interestingly enough, Tyreek Hill, at least temporarily, out of the game last week. They thought it was a hamstring injury, but he's not listed on the injury list. I don't know. Maybe it was a cramp. Maybe they just don't want to talk about it. On Philadelphia's side, they also have an issue on their offensive line, and it's not a good one. Lane Johnson is questionable with the ankle injury. That's a big deal for their offensive line. Meanwhile, on the defensive end, safety Blankenship, cornerback Darius Slay are both questionable, as are both of their backups. Probably not the best time to have issues in your backfield facing this speed team. Mike Steph, what do you think is going to happen here? Who do you like?
I don't like neither one of them. I can't stand these two teams. I can't. But I'm gonna remain unbiased for the sake of our argument. In a matchup of two teams that I despise, it's gonna come down to the lesser of two evils for me, to be totally honest. Miami keeps on rolling, dominating the Panthers this past Sunday while putting up 42 points. Now, while the offense has been explosive, if you look closer, you can see the level of their competition has been rather lackluster. The teams they've beaten have a combined total of 5 wins. Think about that. If you look even closer, 4 of those teams only have 1 win each. Tyreek Hill is on a pace for 2,300 yards receiving, averaging 135 yards per. Raheem Mostert is back to being the lead back due to the injury to A-Chain, since he's on the IR, and he already has 9 touchdowns on the season. Now, for the Eagles, and their entitled, annoying, whining piece of fan base, they're coming off a loss to my New York Jets this past Sunday, in which, if you want to be honest, was due to the arrogance which starts from the top. Their head coach, Nick Sirianni, and trickles down to the rest of the team. Jalen Hurts had a poor game despite throwing for 280 yards because he had 3 interceptions, which brought him up to 7 interceptions for the season so far. Do you know he only had a total of 6 all last year? Despite his ability to elude the rush, he allowed the constant pressure by the front 4, because they only got blitzed 19% of the time last game. He allowed the constant pressure to get to him and forced him into bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. They also, to me, have a problem forcing the ball to A.J. Brown way too much, in my opinion, and are not utilizing Devontae Smith as much as they should. The secondary is hobbled, as you said, and vulnerable to the speed that Miami possesses. To me, they need to get back to controlling the clock, running the ball, and in turn, controlling the game. But they want to be an air-it-out team. Why? I don't know. So, this is, like I said, this is going to be very, very tough for me because I don't like either one of these teams. I can have plus and minuses for both teams, which I actually just spelled out. Miami is their opportunity to actually have a definitive win on their resume. And right now, this would be the perfect opportunity to do so because their strength is right against what's hobbling the Eagles, which is their defensive backfield. Now, Miami, to me, might not be able to take advantage of the current weakness of the Philadelphia Eagles on the defensive side due to Lane Johnson being hobbled, because I just don't have that much faith in the pass rush of Miami. So, what do I think? I think this. And yes, it's going to be a little biased because my pick is going to actually influence my New York Jets. So take it with a grain of salt. As much as I hate to say it, I think Philly is going to win because I think Philly is going to go back to their bread and butter, which is pound the rock, control the ball. It's in their best interest to keep Miami's offense on the sideline. So, with that being said, I'm going to moneyline the Eagles. I am going to go under for the total because for some reason, anytime these big totals come up and you expect a shootout, it's usually the opposite. So I'm going to go under, moneyline the Eagles, and that 2-point spread, I am going to say the Eagles are going to cover. So yeah, my picks: under for the total, Eagles money line, Eagles to cover the spread, and the Dolphins get clipped.
Yeah, I like the way you looked at that, because if Philadelphia is going to win, in my opinion, they have to keep this under and have a little bit of ball control, which should be about their game. Meanwhile, I am really worried about their backfield. So, their defensive backfield. It feels like the Dolphins are primed to exploit this. But as you also pointed out, these teams have not had signature wins yet. So somebody will come out with a signature win here. I just didn't like how Philadelphia looked last week at all. I didn't like it. And, a lot of it is the Jets defense for sure. If I'm looking at either one of these teams right now and just thinking like which one of them I expect to see in the Super Bowl off of what I've seen the last couple of weeks, I have to lean towards Miami over Philadelphia, which makes me think that I am going to pick the Dolphins to win, which means they're also going to cover the spread. I like the total. I think if anything, I'm going to bet the Dolphins to win and leave it at that. That total makes me nervous. All right, Mike Steph, we are done, and I haven't called you Donnie Ooh once this week, so congratulations to you on that. All right, now take us out, sir.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting edition. Matter of fact, not so much interesting. This has been a different edition because being the fact that the line spreads are so close this week, we actually go in depth and kind of try to really find a hidden gem out of the lineups, out of the slate of games that we have this week. So, we're multifaceted. We know what we're talking about. And sooner than later, we're going to have this on record, exactly how much we know what we're talking about. But that'll be in the near future. So with all that being said, Hidden Gems Football has been a part of the 19 Media. Goodbye.
Oh, time to go. Bye-bye.
Ding, ding, ding.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
Let me be your friend. Bump, stibbit, bump, stibbit. No, Stone Cold Gentleman. Beginning on a friend. Yeah. It is something that I can't explain about you, baby. Oh man, shoot. Then you had, I thought it was me that made that girl this way. I thought it was me. Yo, I swear, I broke out a couple of dance moves at the wedding a couple years ago. Shoot, they don't call me the tap dance kid for nothing. Yeah, I know. Only Mike Steph right here on Hidden Gems Football.
Are you doing I Dream a Genie? What's going on there? That's weird. All right.
See, that's what teamwork is for. He doesn't let me just jump off a ledge.